Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to this, the sixth in a series of video tutorials for Unity 3D. Now in this episode we will be covering expanding our dungeon, which we created a ramp down to just here in the last episode. We'll be playing a bit more with lighting within our dungeon, and we'll be experimenting with sounds and music within the world. Before we begin that though, I got a message on our Facebook page about the river and asking, is it time we built a bridge over the river? Yes, it is. So that will be the first thing we'll be doing today. So just to get you a little bit up to speed, down here what I've already done is created a new material with this texture. Now this texture was just dragged over from a folder into Unity right here, and as usual all the materials we use within these tutorials are available free on our website. So you know how it goes. Add a cube and we'll put this in 0, 0, 0 so we can see it clearly. We'll drag it up and drag it across slightly. Let's focus on it. Now we'll change the x-axis to, say, 5 maybe, and the z-axis to, we'll keep it as 2. I think 2 is fine. We'll drag it down a little bit so it's just on our ground, just there. And quite simply we'll just drag and drop our wood material onto it. Now here, by the way, our scale is 4 and 2, so as it looks somewhat decent. So now we have this here named cube, so I'm going to rename that as bridge 001. And what I'm going to do is game object and create empty. And I'm going to rename this as village 001 bridge. And I'm going to drag and drop this in the hierarchy, like so. So now you know the drill. Duplicate, which is Control D. We'll rename to number 2. And we will drag it this way. And we will rotate on the z-axis by minus 0.2. So it creates a bit of a ramp. Then we drag it down. Hopefully it's not quite right. It's not matching up perfectly, but this is something that you could play with and get it matching just fine. It's not too bad, to be honest. It's fairly decent for a quick one. So now I'm going to duplicate this main one again. I'm going to rename it as number 3. We'll drag it this way and then we'll rotate by 0.2 and then drag it down. So you've got your bridge and ramps going up onto it. Next we'll create a sort of a handrail. So we'll duplicate our main one again. We'll rename and we'll call it number 4. Simply drag it up and we will reduce the scaling on the z-axis to 0.25, I think. And then we will just drag it to the end and then move it in slightly. Let's see how that looks. Let's move it in a little more. And we could do with reducing the y. Let's reduce it to 0.5. And we'll move it down slightly to about there. That should do. We'll duplicate again and we will rename this to number 5 and we'll move it this way. to the other side. So now when we play, we at least have a bridge to cross our river, like so. Now if you want, what you can do is you can go a little bit further. You can create the handrails down on each side. You can create fancy sort of wooden effects up here if you feel like it. It's entirely up to you how you make your bridge. But for these tutorials, I'm just going simple. Okay, so our bridge is done. Next on our agenda is over here, which is our dungeon. This is our entrance we created. So what I'm going to do is we will zoom in down here. As you can see, our path leads to nowhere. So let's fix that. Firstly, create a new material. Should know how to do it by now. And we will call this one Dungeon Floor 001. And what we'll do is we will bring in this texture into Unity. And we'll just apply it to the material we just created. And we will scale it to, let's see, 5 and 5. And then we'll see how that looks in just a second. So, game object, create other, and cube. And let's make the x-axis about 10, maybe 15. And we'll also make the y-axis, sorry, not the y-axis, the z-axis, also 15. So if we drag it down slightly, and then drag it across, about there, and then we'll apply our dungeon floor to it. So down here now, it looks slightly better, so we sort of have an actual dungeon forming, as you can see. So if I maybe try dragging it down a little more and see how far we can go, maybe about there, that looks just fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it out a little more, let's say about there. It doesn't matter too much the fact these objects are intersecting. It's not a big deal. You won't actually see what's behind them anyway, or at least if you create your walls, you won't see them. The player isn't able to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename and put this as Dungeon, sorry, we'll use capitals, Dungeon Floor 001, and a new game object, an empty one, and we'll rename this to Dungeon, and then we'll drag and drop in our hierarchy. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to duplicate our floor, and as crazy as it sounds, I'm going to use it for the roof. So we'll rename Dungeon Roof 001. Next, we will game objects, create other, cube, and let's see, we will change this to 8 maybe, is that? Yes, I think that looks just about alright. So we'll keep that as 8, and we'll change the Z-axis to 15, and we'll drag this across to about there, which should be just about fine. Okay, so next what we'll do is we will create a new material, and we'll call this material Dungeon Wall 001, and we will drag in this texture into Unity, which is just here, and then we'll drag it onto our material and we will scale it again at 5 and 5, and then we'll apply to our cube. So as you can see just here, our little dungeon is slowly starting to form. So we'll rename this one first. My apologies. Dungeon wall 001, and we'll drag into the hierarchy. Duplicate and rename. Number 2. Drag it to the other side of our dungeon, and we will duplicate once again. Don't want too many times, but that doesn't matter because we need some more anyway. So this one I've done here, number 3. Now we'll drag this one out, but we will change the local scaling. So we'll change the y-axis to let's see, I think we'll keep it 8 for now. So we'll change this to 15. We'll change it to, sorry, that's the wrong one I've done there. It's the z-axis we need to change to 1. And then we just pull it outwards and move it across, so our dungeon is now enclosed. There we go. That will do nicely. So if we zoom in, we can see inside our dungeon here. And this wall I created earlier, we will rename that to number 4. And let's move it a little. Let's change the scale back to 1, 1, 1. Change it round so we can see. And what we'll do is let's change the keep the Z as 1. We'll change the Y to 8, and we'll change the X to, let's say, 10. So now we just have a wall within our dungeon, as you can see. So if I change it around a little, what I will do is duplicate the wall again and shift it this way and along here. Like I say, this outside bit I wouldn't worry too much because the player isn't meant to see this. It can be messy, but if you're very proud of how you create things, you can tidy it up. It's entirely up to you if you have time. Okay, so if we play our game now, we walk over, cross our bridge, approach our dungeon, and if we go down, we go in to our dungeon here. Now there's not a lot here at the moment, but it's not too big a deal. So what we'll do now that we've created our dungeon, we will create some lighting. Now you will notice at this point we are kind of going a little bit faster with things. Once you do get the hang of Unity, if you've been going through our tutorials so far, you will notice that you do actually become quicker because you know quick ways of doing things, quick little shortcuts, quick little cheats you could call them. So in this case, what I'm going to do is the torches we've created earlier, as you can see, I'm going to duplicate the entire torch and then move it into our dungeon. So if we take it, shift it down a touch, it's a little bit fiddly, I apologise. I am on a laptop today. Just inside our dungeon, which looks Not too bad there, to be honest. So if we align it more with our walls, let's put it over here, I think, and down a touch. Okay, so we have that against our wall here. And what I'm going to do is I will duplicate it again. What I'll do is I will drag the whole thing into our dungeon. So we will duplicate and move it to, let's say, there. So these torches here will do the exact same thing as what our torches outside did. So we'll play around with some lighting now. So this torch here we will duplicate again, rename it to number 3, and this time we will put it around the back of our dungeon. So if we take it and put it on this back wall here, so about there, that should do. And if we go into it, into torchlight and torch glow, you can see here, let's put this as sort of a darky orange red colour on there. If we go into torch glow, particle system, oops, go down here, we'll change all these colours again to a more darky sort of red feeling colour. And there we go. So we'll change our torch light. As you can see, we used the yellow token for that. So what I'm going to do is create a new material, and we'll call this Dungeon Light 001, and we will change the colouring to a dark orange kind of red colour. And then we will simply just apply our new material onto it. We can get to it. So we'll drag it onto here. There we go. So if we play our game now, go across our bridge into the dungeon again. As you can see, it's given off sort of a red kind of feeling, which will do just fine. So you can play with the colour in as much as you want. You'll get a different feel with different colours. It's entirely up to you how you do it, but we will leave like that for now. We'll probably expand more on this dungeon in further tutorials. I'll go into it a little bit more towards the end of this tutorial. Okay. Now what we'll be getting into is some audio. Now, the way audio works in Unity is it can be applied to literally any object that you have here. If you decide to apply audio to an actual object, that object will permanently emanate the audio, as I will demonstrate now. With this river audio, we'll import it, and it'll take just a second to import. Obviously, the bigger the file size, the longer it takes to import. So once it has imported, all you need to do is on your object, the bottom, add component, audio, and audio source. As you can see, it's here. So we are on our river right now. So it is simply a case of dragging and dropping. I'll play that just as it is. So hopefully you should be able to hear that. Now, that works just fine. However, if you would like audio to change as you go into a different area, best way of doing that is to create an empty game object, position it in the area you would like the music to come from. So we'll say this area just here. I will rename this to Village Audio 001. We'll add component, audio, and audio source. And here we will drag over this overworld 001 into Unity. Now, all these audio files are available on our website. They are free. They are something I've created myself in a program called FL Studio. Now, FL Studio is not free. It is a paid-for application. However, there are many sites on the internet you can get free audio from. If you do put audio within your game, don't put anything copyright in, and if you are going to use any audio you found on the internet, please ask permission. Using copyright things for other than personal use can get you into a bit of bother, so avoid it if you can. These audio sounds we're using here aren't copyright. You are free to use them within your game. So on our empty object, we will drag and drop our audio clip. So now, hopefully when we play, we will hear the terrible audio which I have created, which is perfectly fine. Now, as we go over here, you will notice the audio does start to fade, or it should do at least. One thing I've forgot to mention, my apologies, is on our audio down here, click on loop, so it does continuously loop. So on this one we'll also click on loop. I'm going to reduce the volume on our overworld theme for our village by a quarter, so we'll put it as 0.75. We will change the distance as well. We'll change it to 100. So when we play, we can hear our music. And as we come over here, it does start to fade. So 100 may still be a little bit too high. So again, it's just a case of playing around and see what you can come up with. So we'll put it as 30, I think. So if we play and walk over again, over here, you'll notice it has faded quite a lot, but it is still audible. So 30 is still clearly too high, so I'll reduce it just to say 12, and we'll keep it there. So that is our audio for the village, and what I will do is I will drag this into Village 001 Miscellaneous and collapse. So play one more time. As we go over here, it does fade out. Now it is change the max distance just to 1, just to double check we are doing everything right here. Still not perfect. However, it is a case of changing the actual audio itself. So that will do for now. It's something we can play with later on. This is only just getting used to the basics of audio. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create another game object. In fact, no, I'll show you a different type of audio source that we can use. In our dungeon, down here, we will actually use this wall as a source of audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this final MP3 into Unity, which is Dungeon 001. Take just a second. So on here, same as the other times, it is audio and audio source, and then simply dragging and dropping the audio just here. So we will loop and we'll change max distance to we'll change it to 2 for now, and we'll see how that goes. So we'll go over here into our dungeon. As you can see, the music has changed in our dungeon. Now you can still hear the village music ever so slightly, but it is a case of playing around with the settings, which we will get into in a different tutorial. Now before we end this, I will show you one more way you can have audio. If you want your audio, music, whatever playing constantly, you can actually attach an audio component to your player. That means the audio source is always your player, so no matter where you go, the audio source will be with you. So we will leave our tutorial there for now. Next time we will be tidying up our asset window down here, because it is getting a little bit crooked now. We'll probably be looking a little bit more into lighting, a bit more into the audio, but the biggest thing we'll be doing next time is the terrain. Now, terrain is a very versatile thing, which takes a bit of getting used to, but it's very useful in the end once you get used to it. So yes, we'll leave it there for now, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and hope to see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.